I'm actually sitting here at Black and Nobel We Ship to Prisons with the inventor of the Willie Lynch Letters.
Before I begin, I want to make something very clear. This video is not being made to invalidate any black person's lived experience. It is not being made to dismiss the pain, trauma, or confusion many of us have faced, whether that pain comes from racist white people or from internal harm within our own community. And this video is not an excuse for racist treatment, past or present. Instead, I'm sharing this video because I care about us deeply. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, today I want to give a closer look at Willie Lynch. And in this video presentation, I hope to expose what I believe to be the Willie Lynch myth. Let's get to these videos.
Anybody know who Willie Lynch was? Anybody? Raise your hand. No one? He was a vicious slave owner in the West Indies. The slave masters in the colony of Virginia were having trouble controlling their slaves, so they sent for Mr. Lynch to teach them his methods. The word lynching came from his last name. His methods were very simple, but they were diabolical. Keep the slave physically strong, but psychologically weak and dependent on the slave master. Keep the body, take the mind. I and every other professor on this campus are here to help you to find, take back, and keep your righteous mind. Because obviously you have lost it.
Set of protocols that if you will follow these protocols, you will not have to kill your slaves. They'll be your slaves for the next 300 to 1,000 years. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's almost 2012 and Willie Lynch is still in business. Yes, now here's what he did. Willie said, what I have is foolproof. What I want you to do is look at the differences among your slaves and make the differences bigger. Pit the differences against each other until it becomes self-perpetuating. Right. We start with age. Take the young Negro and the old Negro and put them against each other. And then after age, do color. And when we first got from Africa, all of us was black. So Willie said, introduce color. Put a little white germ, life germ, into the black woman, and she'll bring forth a baby that's brown. Then put a little more white in the brown till you get a lighter brown, then a yellow, then one that can almost pass, but not enough for us to accept them. Then put all of them against each other.
Y'all just saw two videos from prominent figures from within the black community sharing their experience and understandings of what exactly the Willie Lynch letter entails. However, let's think about this right here, y'all. Who are we today, and how and why this letter spread? We as black Americans carry a deep, unique history. We deal with wounds of racism from outside our community and the wounds of colorism, division, and generational trauma from within. For many years, the Willie Lynch letter felt like a simple explanation for the complex problems inside our community. And we weren't alone in believing that. And now, I'm going to share another video about when the letter actually appeared and who wrote it.
How everybody doing out there? My name is Jason. I'm actually sitting here at Black and Nobel We Ship to Prisons with the inventor of the Willie Lynch Letters, Brother Nana. Well, I have the privilege of sitting next to.
Did you say something with prisons?
We ship to prisons, yes.
I have a prison thing I do with prisons.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What made you write the manuscript for Willie Lynch Letters? Yes.
I'm from Durham, North Carolina. Durham, North Carolina is the home of North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance Company and Farmers and Kansas Bank, the biggest black insurance company in the world and the richest black banks in the world. That's my home. We took for granted college-educated people, black professors. We just took that for granted, and so we never ever consider ourselves super hardship like the rest of the United States with black people. But we thought we were just as good, if not better, than white people. But even though we had all these things, we still wanted to progress. And when we watched the news and TV all across the country, we recognized that, hey, we need to do something too. So we did our part. But I had just graduated from the University of Pittsburgh in 1974, and we would have study groups in the evening after I got on work. I was teaching at North Carolina Central University. Okay. So we had maybe about 12 young brothers, people on the faculty, and some community people would come, and we talked and stuff. We didn't have black studies then. We didn't have a black bookstore, none of that. But from these discussions and things like that, we said, why don't we start a black bookstore? And somebody said, yeah, let's do that. We didn't, we just talked. So we thought that to do that, then the rest of the community would be conscious like we were.
Right.
So one night, I was in my kitchen, sitting there drinking some vodka and orange juice. I was about 32 years old. And I was home by myself. And I decided to write something about the role of white people in slavery. So I had read a book called The Black Jacobins. And in that book talks about how brutal slavery was in the South. I had read some books about slavery, but they were not brutal like that in the South.
Right.
I mean, in Haiti. So, but anyway, I wrote this document outlining the brutality of slavery. And then it was 2 pages, front and back. And then the more I thought about it, I said, what am I going to call this thing? And the more I thought about it, I know one thing they did a lot in slavery was lynch people. So there's a town called Lynchburg, Virginia,
right,
about 60 miles from Durham.
Right.
And I thought about that. And I was wondering, I said, I bet you that's with the Lynchburg, that's named because they must have lynched a lot of black people there. So I said, And we used to have a sort of like a name like you have now for black people. And if it was a male, it was Willie. You might have a name you call a male here, not some kind of name, but it was Willie. So I say Willie Lynch. Willie Lynch. And that's how the name Willie Lynch came to be.
Wow.
Then I put that on the letter, Xerox on the old Army machine. And at 12 o'clock midnight, I put them in my car. I ran 500 copies. I just rode all over town, dropping them off in Washats, places like that, where people would pick them up. They wouldn't necessarily see who did it because it was like 12 o'clock at night.
Right.
So that's what I did.
Wow.
And I didn't tell anyone in my group because I wanted to see I didn't know it was going to work. And I sat back and I said maybe about 3 days stuff ought to start jumping off. 3 days came nothing. 3 weeks came nothing. So I thought, well, I forgot about moving on to the next story. And I did take one to a bookstore. He had one copy of it. I have no copy. I don't know what the hell. I mean, it didn't really mean anything to me, you know. But in any event, 15 years had passed, and I'm at the Million Man March. And lo and behold, Minister Farrakhan, who I admired deeply, read that speech, and I almost fainted because I want to know how did he know about that letter.
Right.
And some people have speculated that what happened was, as people traveled through there, some people picked it up and it began to carry it around. And gradually, some things was added to it, but the basic letter was mine. Matter of fact, I saw a book the other day. It's kind of thick. No, this is not. This book here was added to the original.
Okay.
And there's no copyright in it because they didn't know who wrote it.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And so very little has been added to this one, but some others has gotten thicker. These are other people adding to it and so forth. Okay? But the original itself, was just two long sheets like that, front and back. But that's how the letter came.
Now, y'all just watched that video in which that black psychology professor is claiming to be the author who wrote the Willie Lynch Letter. So let's give our focus and attention to what the Willie Lynch Letter actually says. Let's read it together and be on the lookout for any linguistic red flags. The title page of the Willie Lynch Letter reads as such: Willie Lynch, The Untold Story, 1712. The speech was delivered by a white slave owner, Willie Lynch, on the bank of the James River in 1712. Y'all stick a pin tack in that date, 1712. Let's proceed. Gentlemen, I greet you here on the banks of the James River in the year of our Lord, 1712. First, I shall thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here. I am here to help you solve some of your problems with slaves. Your invitation reached me on my modest plantation in the West Indies, where I experimented with some of the newest and still the oldest methods for controlling of slaves. Ancient Rome would envy us if my program is implemented. Y'all stick a pen tack in that word, program. Let's proceed. As our boat sails south on the James River, named for our illustrious king, whose version of the Bible we cherish, I saw enough to know your problem is not unique. While Rome used cords of wood as crosses for standing human bodies along its old highways in great numbers, you are here using the tree and rope on occasion. I caught the whiff of a dead slave hanging from a tree a couple of miles back. You are not only losing valuable stocks by hangings, you are having uprisings. Slaves are running away. Your crops are sometimes left in the fields too long for maximum profit. You suffer occasional fires. Your animals are killed. Gentlemen, you know what your problems are. I do not need to elaborate. I am not here to enumerate your problems. However, I am here to introduce you to a method of solving them. When I look at that term, old highways, I see that as being just a little bit suspicious. Do you think that they were saying highways in the 1712s when they were trying to figure out how to control slaves on the plantation? Stick a thumbtack in that, okay? Highways. Let's proceed. In my bag here, I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if it is installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or overseer can use it. I have outlined the number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies and they will work throughout the South. Take this simple list of differences and think about them. Installed. That sounds like a more modern day term that we use in technology. For example, my MacBook Pro. I just paid my annual subscription and I reinstalled my software editing app on this MacBook so I can continue making this content for y'all, okay? I installed a program on my MacBook Pro. I doubt that they were saying installed in the 1700s, but let's proceed. On the top of my list is age, but it is there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. There is intelligence, size, sex, size of plantations, status on plantations, attitudes of owners, whether the slaves live in the valley, on the hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or is tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy is stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. The black slave, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-fulfilling and self-generation for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male, and the young black male against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks, but it is necessary your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. Gentlemen, these kids are the keys to control. Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. If used intensively for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. Thank you, gentlemen. If I made it to this point in this video presentation, y'all stop everything. Hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment, and share. Remember, earlier in this presentation, I told y'all to stick some thumbtacks into those words that I highlighted for y'all. What we're going to do right now is go back and see what we found from research, okay? Let's get to it. Y'all look at that screen and y'all read it with me, okay? These are linguistic red flags, proving it's modern, okay? 2 words inside the Willie Lynch letter are impossible for an alleged slave owner in 1712 to have used: program and refilling. So now the logical question is why? Why was it impossible for a slave owner to use those specific terms? Let's dig just a little bit deeper. Program, meaning a planned system of behavior control, only entered U.S. common speech much later than the 1700s, late 1800s to early 1900s to be exact. And refilling, referring to ships, engines, or later aircraft, did not enter common American language until the late 19th to early 20th century. These 2 words did not belong in the vocabulary of the early 1700s. Their presence inside the letter exposes the lie without any further debate needed. And now here's the part that most people never learn because nobody ever taught them that. It was so convenient to run with the myth of Willie Lynch going to the plantations and teaching racist white slave owners how to control their slaves on the plantation. But we must know this: the Willie Lynch letter did not exist in 1712, the 1800s, or even in the early 1900s. It suddenly appeared between the late 1970s and the early 1900s, during a period of black cultural awakening. Historians and linguistic experts studied the writing style and concluded it was written by a 20th century black author who intended it as a fictional shock piece, not as an historical document. And concluding the dots of what has been said by the linguistic experts to what was said in that video by the professor who wrote the Willie Lynch letter, the author, that man who we just saw the video of, that author wanted to illustrate the psychological damage of slavery. But over time, people mistook the piece for a real historical speech. And that misunderstanding spread across the nation. And this is why debunking this letter matters. Some people ask, if the letter feels true, does it matter if it's fake? Yes, it does. It matters deeply because we cannot heal using false history. We cannot build identity on misinformation, and we cannot teach our children lies. It dishonors our ancestors to replace their real suffering with a fabricated speech that was invented by someone centuries later. Our people deserve historical accuracy, not creative mythology disguised as facts. So in closing this video, this is a call for truth and healing. The Willie Lynch letter is a myth, but the trauma that made it believable is real. But now that we know the truth, we can let go of the myth and focus on what truly affected our people so we can truly move forward with healing. The truth is the foundation for liberation, and liberation is the foundation of unity. If that made it to this point in the video, I want to thank y'all very much for being here. Before you leave, hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment, and share. This your boy CAC telling y'all that we got to put away the myths and rebuild ourselves on a strong foundation that is rooted in truth and historical accuracy, not myths, not lies. I'm out.